a notification about recording. Wonderful. Okay, so welcome to the Work Experience Information Evening. I am absolutely delighted and over the moon that we're able to share this opportunity with our students. It's something that we've never done before. Work experience is something that we at Chertsey High haven't had the opportunity to provide for students, and through kind of a lot of planning and a lot of discussion over the last couple of months, I'm really pleased to say that we will be having the inaugural Chertsey High Work Experience Week starting the 15th of May next year. So it's really exciting. I have given a presentation to students yesterday, and hopefully students have now started to receive their app invitations that should have gone live at 3 p.m. yesterday. I'll be talking more about how the app works later on in this presentation, but just to give you a bit of a brief as to what we're going to be what I'm going to be talking about today. I'm going to go through some of the bits I've already shared with students about things like how to find placements, what the placements involve, and how the app works. And then I'm hoping I've managed to preempt some of the questions that you guys may have, so that you are able to kind of receive some of those answers. If you do have any questions at any point, please do use the chat function. I have had to disable the microphone and the camera privileges for you guys this evening, but please do use the chat function and I will be able to answer as many of those as possible. I've got Miss Sheen in the background here who's going to be taking notes of those questions as we go. So if anything crops up, please do pop it into the chat function. If I answer it as we go, I answer it as we go. If not, I'll pick it up towards the end. Wonderful. So let's get started. Work experience for us. The reason why we have chosen to run work experience, it is completely optional for schools to run this. It's not part of the statutory guidance that we receive from the government anymore. It has since been revoked and it is now an optional process for schools to undertake. But partly down to the fact that it is optional, and I like to make sure that we provide nothing but the absolute best for our students, is also because it's amazing. It's an incredible opportunity. I'm sure you guys will all remember your times at school and your work experience placements as one of those really vivid memories that just sticks with you for the rest of your life. I was telling the guys that I did mine at a primary school, and I realized that during my time at primary school that I absolutely did not want to become a teacher. But then, you know, things change and you end up where you end up. What this kind of gives us is it gives the students an opportunity really just to feel about what it is to be part of the bigger world, big part of the world of work, and really experience what it is for them to start to kind of make that transition into adulthood. And really, it gives you an opportunity, if you are choosing to bring your student to work with you, as we'll talk about later, it gives you an opportunity to share that side of your life with your student and engage in those conversations. It is so important that, again, will last with these students the rest of their lives. The chats that you have, the conversations you have around the world of work, around work ethic, around all of these aspects are really fundamental to helping develop not just a well-educated student, but also a well-rounded student. So I'm just making sure I've got a few more people have just popped up. So in terms of how the work experience kind of process works, the big part of our work experience program that we're running this year is we are really starting to promote the independence of students. It was a choice that we've made that we really want to encourage students to engage with the local community, to engage with their families and their friends, and to find their own placement. So we are doing a self-sourced placement work experience. Some tips and advice will be starting to pour out through tutor time and through PSHE lessons for students over the next couple of months. But the big messages really are how to find that first initial point of placement. Now, I know a lot of students have already come to me and said that they know where they want to work and they've asked for tips on how to engage and how to get started on that. But if for those of you that are still at the early stages, the big thing really is about getting the research in place, looking at what there is locally available. If it involves chatting to people, to family, friends, word of mouth is often a very good way of gathering some of those additional kind of more niche job markets. But most importantly, and I cannot stress this one enough, it's about building that independence and about building that lifelong skill of being able to engage with employers, being able to engage with people outside of their kind of comfort zone, and to really put themselves out there. So again, it's about making sure that they are calling if they can call, emailing if they can call, if they can go in person, if you can go in person with them to speak to these employers and ask them whether or not they're able to be part of the work experience in that workplace, is such an important kind of life skill to be learning. So that's really kind of the basics of how this works. Just going to share with you a couple of key dates, talk you through the app, and then we'll round off with a couple of questions that I think I've hopefully preempted, and then I'm sure there's plenty that you'd like to ask, and I will open up the forum to discuss any questions you might have. So key dates. Again, these will be made widely available over the next couple of months. The main one, the one that we've got over the next couple of weeks, is to register with the app. So the email has been sent out to students yesterday. It will have on it a QR code as well as a link. Now, the app itself is not just through a smartphone. So if the student doesn't have a smartphone, that is absolutely fine. There are plenty of ways to use this. It can be used in browser as well. There is a link on the email where the student can click on the in-browser link. It will take them through. They'll enter a unique PIN, and that unique PIN will give them access to the app itself. If they are doing it through the app, then there'll be a QR code. Now, the QR code image itself may be blocked in the email. If that is the case, they just need to simply click unblock images, and it will allow that image to pop through. They can use their phone to scan that QR code, and it takes them straight to the app for them to enter their unique PIN, which takes them straight to their own home page. The first major deadline other than that is the 28th of February, the end of February, which will be the time that they need to make sure that they have found and registered through the app the placement that they intend to go through. That gives us as a school plenty of time to do our risk assessments, to do our liability checks, and to do anything else we need to do in place so that they are ready to start on the 15th of May. And then the first day of the placement is on the 15th of May, and it will last for the entirety of that week. So it will go from the Monday the 15th straight through to the Friday of the same week. It will just be for those 5 days. It will not be for any longer. It will not start any earlier, and it will not finish any later. So apologies if you do have any opportunities that are very much time dependent for other weeks of the year. This is the week that we are running it, and this is the week that we will be allowing students time out of school in order to carry it out. So the app itself is a very straightforward app. It's run by Connect, which is a partner app with the company we are working with to help facilitate this, which is the Changing Education Group. As I said, they've been sent an invitation email to download their app and then to enter their unique PIN. If at any point they forget their PIN, it's a really, really simple reset process. They uninstall the app, they reinstall the app, and they enter their PIN again. It's as simple as that. There's nothing else that needs to be done. They simply open up and reinstall. If there are any issues with the app at any point, please do send them to me at the first instance, and I will be able to sort them out and help them out with any key issues or any key problems that might crop up. But in theory, it's a really, really straightforward process to get themselves signed in for the first place. Once they're on the app, there are two things that we would like them to do before they start anything else. The first is to get their industry preference questionnaire underway. That'll take no more than about 5 minutes. Please do not click the Remind Me Later button. If they have clicked the Remind Me Later button, please do ask them to go back and fill it out. It's really, really helpful for us as a school, particularly if we're looking to guide students that are struggling to find a placement into the right areas. It allows us to identify what industries they're most interested in. And again, it might not be industries they necessarily realise they're interested in, but the app helps kind of push and kind of guide in those particular directions, and along with their entry questionnaire as well. Their entry questionnaire matches with their exit questionnaire at the very end and helps form their certificate that they receive at the end. In terms of the adding of their placement, again, it's an incredibly straightforward process. From the student's entry point of view, there is simply a blue button that they click, which is Add Placement. And or add new placement, I should say, please get them to click on the add new placement button. Again, you can quite easily do this yourselves as well if you'd like to be doing it as part of a family, as opposed to leaving it up to the student on their own. Once they click on the add of the new placement, it will then prompt with a couple of fill forms that they would like to fill out. These include things like the employer's name, the person who'll be supervising. It also includes the placement address, contact email, contact telephone number, and any other bits of information which might be pertinent to the student's placement. If you are self-sourcing the placement through your own family, then again, it'd be a case of putting in your family contact details. If it's a family-run business or a self-employment, then again, it's all should be very, very straightforward. If it is not, please do contact me at the first instance, and I'll be able to guide you through the process on how that works. Once they submit the application, when they submit the placement, I should say, it will then ping a notification to myself and Miss Sheen. And what we will do is we will confirm or deny the placement. Now, when I talk to students about this, I'm not about denying placements. I really want to be confirming as many placements as possible. What I'm really checking for at this point is whereabouts the company is located, whereabouts the placement is located, and the suitability of the placement in terms of what kind of industry it's working in. I have spoken to students, and I have asked, and I'll state this again, that we are asking that all placements are kept locally. I don't mean within 100 meters of the house or within a couple of miles of the house. What I mean is that if they are traveling any extended distance, that they are under the supervision of their parents while they do this, or you have signed a waiver to allow them to take something like public transport, for example. If they're working in London and they're taking the train up on their own, we need to have a waiver signed confirming that you are in agreement that they can take the train on their own. In an ideal world, that would not be the case. We would like a member of the family or somebody that you trust to be able to take them up on the train with them and be on the placement with them, because obviously that is outside of the local area. Again, we are trying to ask that you keep it in and around the area of the school, in that if I need to get out to a placement to speak to a student, or I need to get out to a placement to speak to an employer, I would like to be there within the hour. So I really don't want to be traveling further than that distance. I think it's very important that we are keeping students close and local in the community in that respect. However, if you are concerned that a placement that you've found is potentially too far away, please do ask me, and we can obviously have that conversation one-to-one as to whether or not that placement is suitable, or if we can find alternative placements that are better kind of located for what we need. Once that's been submitted to me and myself or Miss Sheen have approved it, then that goes through to our company that we're working with, the Changing Education. Changing Education then carry out all of the safeguarding, all the liability and all the risk assessment checks with the employer, and they make contact with the employer, and the employer themselves receive their end of the app itself. So there are three ends of the app. We have the student, we have the teacher, and we have the employer app. All three of them speak to each other. They're all integrated into the same system. And what it means for us is that we can then have direct communication with the employer or with the company they're working with. And it means that we can keep regular contact with them should we need to, or in the case of kind of any situation that we might need to kind of get involved with. And again, I anticipate that everything will be absolutely fine on that front. In terms of the employer kind of engagement side of things, the employers themselves will fill out a kind of employability questionnaire at the end of the placement, and in doing so, it feeds towards the student's evaluation questionnaire, and then that feeds back into the full kind of whole placement kind of summary report, and then each student receives a certificate of completion of their work experience, which can go towards, while the certificate itself, sorry, might not go towards their CV, they can certainly use their placement as part of their CV and part of things like college application, DOV application, and various other further application as they go through. So that's kind of the general process that this will go through. I hope I've hit some of the kind of more pertinent logistic points for you. What I've done on the next slide is I've anticipated some of the potential questions that might crop up, and I'm hoping that with that, I should be able to preempt a lot of your questions. But equally, if you do have any questions that have cropped up over the last couple of slides, please do start typing them into the chat, and I should be able to get back to them as soon as possible to you. So first things first, how long will the placement last? Complete mind blank there. The placement will last 5 days. Sorry, it'll be 5 days. There'll be an agreement with the employer that they for their working hours. So we will each employer will sign with the student kind of a learner agreement, and that will dictate their employer hours. We do ask that they do not exceed 9 working hours a day, and we maintain the hours between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. We do not work outside of those hours, and 9 hours is the absolute maximum we'll be asking of our students. This again is consistent with the kind of average working week, for lack of a better word. How will the students be prepared for their placements? So we will be working with the students in the weeks leading up to their placement through peer CHE and tutor time, specifically working with them in the fundamental aspects of work. So looking at health and safety, basic interpersonal skills, workplace awareness are some of the key skills we'll be working with specifically in preparation for the placement. But in addition to all of that, we will be working with students as they put their placements in over the next half term up until Christmas. And then after Christmas break and back in the spring term, we will be working again with the students to finalise those final placements. How do I know a placement has been confirmed? So the students will submit their placement through the app. I will be trying to confirm myself ASAP that I am happy with the placement that they've been put onto, and then this will go to Changing Education. It is entirely dependent on how long these checks take to come through. How quickly the employer engages with the Changing Education really determines on how quickly I can confirm the placement as fully confirmed. We do try and get it through as quick as possible, but if you feel like it has taken too long, again, please do contact me if you haven't heard anything within, say, 3 weeks of my acceptance of the placement, and I'll be able to start chasing that for you if you feel like you would like to get confirmation sooner rather than later. How do we get my child, or how do I get my child to their placement? We do ask that you self-source your transport to placement. So this should be considered when selecting the placement. So when you're looking for a placement, you should also be considering, and the student should be considering, whether or not access to that placement is something that can be completed, whether it's through public transport, whether it's through walking, whether it's through going with a family member or a family friend. Again, it should be considered as part of the selection of that placement. How will we attend, or how will their attendance be monitored? As with all student absences in all cases, if the student is absent due to illness, please contact the school at the first instance and then the employer. That way we can make sure that we are double crossing and double checking every single student attendance, particularly absences. We will be asking the employers themselves that if a student has not called in sick or there's not been a communication made to the employer, that they are contacting the school, and then we are able to chase that up. Again, we are just following the standard school attendance procedures, so any absences can please be reported directly to the school so they can be chased up straight away. If there are any concerns at any point over attendance during the placement, please contact the school at the first instance, and we'll be able to sort that out as we would with any other absent student. What will they need to wear? So they'll need to be, as part of the agreement they'll have with their employer, they'll need to agree suitable work attire. So really this comes down to wherever it is they're on placement, so long as they will need to wear clothing or an outfit or whatever it is that they're wearing that suits the workplace that they're going to. So if they are going to somewhere that does mean that they will be outside, I'd suggest things like comfy shoes. If they are going into an office, I'd suggest something along the lines of smart business wear. Where can or can't they get a placement? So in theory, there is no limit on the location, on the industry of placement that they can take, provided that the employer is happy to have them working on their site or working in their offices, and provided their liability insurance and their risk assessments are all consistent with the job that they're being asked to carry out. So a lot of people think that you can't work on a building site, for example, which is not true. Students can do their work experience on a live building site, provided that there is a risk assessment carried out that's been signed off by site manager, and their liability insurance covers anything that the student might be involved with. But most importantly, that the supervisor that they are working with has ensured that the student will not be undertaking any activities or any tasks that are not suitable. Can my child come with me to work? Yes, they absolutely can. And I think that's often one of the best places that students can do their work experience. It's a really great opportunity to share your world outside of the home with your students and show them how your work ethic has kind of pushed your area of your life. I think it's a really lovely opportunity to be able to share with your student, particularly if you're able to work in a part or particularly in an industry where there are possibly multiple aspects to it, where maybe on one day they're able to work within your department and then there might be several other departments they could work on throughout that week. Again, the same process applies. You'll need to carry out the same placement application process. And again, the same liability checks and risk assessment checks are also put in place. If you are self-employed or if you are in a situation where you don't have liability insurance, or the liability insurance doesn't kind of cover the area or isn't the kind of liability insurance that's required, again, Changing Education will inform you of this. If they are working with yourselves, then there are waivers that can be produced and signed, which basically sign the student over to yourself for the week. And sorry, got somebody just joining. They sign yourself over for the week and therefore make you responsibility for their health and safety while working at that particular workplace. So I'm going to stop recording in just a moment to take any questions that have cropped up. But thank you so much for taking the time this evening to come and chat, or not chat, but come and listen to me chat. I will be, as I said, putting this onto the website for anybody to watch. However, if at any point you do have any questions or concerns, please do ping me over an email and I'll be able to get back to you relatively quickly. Depending on the sheer number of emails that come through, and I anticipate there might be points in the year where there may be more or less emails. Please do accept my apologies if I'm not able to give a fully comprehensive response within our 24-hour policy. I will give you a response confirming that I've received receipt of the email, and I will try and deal with the contents of the email as soon as manageable. So thank you so much for your time. I will now just pause the recording to take any further questions.